Hello again. As you know, I am Eli the Computer Guy, and today we're going to be talking about automatically blocking IP address on Windows servers. So one of the problems that comes up in the real world of technology, right, is everybody is worried about all of the hackers and all of the systems outside of the firewall. So the people in China trying to hack your systems, the people in Poland trying to hack your systems, the NSA trying to hack your systems, right? So when most companies and most people set up the security for their network, they're really focused on the firewall. So the firewall separates your LAN from the internet, and they sit there and if they care enough, they work really hard to block pores and set inbound rules and set outbound rules and do a lot of protection right there, right? So those people from China won't be able to get and hack our systems. The problem is, though, in the real world of security, is that, again, everybody has this idea of what we're worried about most is outside, when in reality, the thing that where we're most likely to be attacked is actually from the inside. So what a lot of the hackers do is they try to compromise an internal system on your network, and then from that internal system, then they try to go out and hack everything else. So they'll send like a spear phishing attack or a phishing attack, get you to download some kind of bot onto your system. Once the bot is on your system, they're able to remotely control that bot, and then that bot is now sitting inside your network. The firewall protects from the outside world, but it's now sitting inside your network, and it can go and it can attack your servers, and it can attack your desktop computers, and it can do all of this stuff basically at will, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just blasting through trying to hack all of your systems. Then once it's able to find a vulnerability in your system, it then emails that or messages that back to the hacker, and you're kind of screwed. So a lot of times when your servers and your systems get hacked, they're not actually getting hacked from the outside world. They're actually getting hacked internally for something like a bot. So the problem then becomes is, okay, so you have your internal network, and on your internal LAN, you need the computers to be able to communicate with each other relatively easily. So you don't want to have to set up firewall rules on every single computer for the access to every other single computer. You don't want to go to your main Windows server and literally set up individual firewall rules for every individual client computer on the network, right? So you have 100 client computers, and then basically go in and say, okay, 192.168.1.2 gets FTP access, 192.168.1.3 gets FTP access, 192.168.4 gets FTP access, right? That would be maddening. And then the problem is what happens if somebody walks in the door with a laptop computer, needs to be able to get FTP access to the server, but their IP address is 192.168.251, that's not within the firewall rule, so now you've got to configure it, right? So what is much nicer is if you can have automated defenses to try to block IP addresses automatically when they start doing nefarious activity. So the biggest thing that happens in the real world, the biggest hacker attack, is something called a brute force attack against servers or client or computers. And what brute force attacks do is essentially they just keep trying to hammer the server with different username password combinations until one works. Now, if we were human, if this attack was being done by humans, this would take years. It would take 1,000,000 years for this type of attack to work. But since it's being done by computers, and computers can hit a single server 1,000 times per second, you get what I'm saying? Then you can have a real problem. So if you have a bot that somehow gets installed onto a local computer on your LAN, it then starts trying to do a brute force attack against your server. At some point, it may cause problems. So if you have some kind of automated software on your server to be able to block IP addresses when authentication fails a certain amount of times, that can provide a tremendous amount of security without restricting access to other users. Again, whenever you're thinking about security, remember that. Everybody thinks in the real world, how do we make things more secure? But it's not just about making things more secure, but it's also about allowing access and allowing usability and not having an administrative nightmare. So having a piece of software that automatically blocks IP addresses when it sees nefarious activity is just an absolutely great thing. So one of the products that I found is this product called CyberArms, which is really cool, which is really easy to use, is pretty inexpensive. And basically what you can do is you can install that onto your Windows server, and then it will automatically block IP addresses when certain thresholds have been reached. So if people try to get FTP access and they do a username and password combination, 5 different times or 10 different times, and it doesn't work, it will simply block the IP address. It'll either do what's called a soft lock, where it'll lock that IP address out for, let's say, 30 minutes, or it'll do a hard lock, which may be a lot longer. So let's go over to the computer so I can kind of show you what's going on with this, because this is one of those that is absolutely and utterly awesome. And if you are running servers in the real world, you should definitely take a look at. So the product that I found for this, for the IP, the automatic IP blocking, is CyberArms. So if we go here and we can take a look, if we go to, it's basically cyberarms.net. They have a free version of this, so it's forever free, and it does 5 locks per day. Or you can buy the full version, $199 per server, which I think is a pretty good deal. You can go here and you can take a look at the features, and basically it tells you all the stuff. So with this in the real world, what it does is it takes a look, and if people try to connect to your server using RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, if they try to connect to your server using FTP, any of this kind of stuff, it will automatically block the IP address. So let's go over. So I have, this is an RDP connection to my Windows Server 12, server 2012 R2 server. This is the demonstration server I use a lot, and I have this pulled up. So I installed CyberArms onto the server, and it took all of like 2 minutes to do. It's very, very easy to do. Once you've done that and you bring it up, so you get your little icon, this is what you're going to look at. So what you see here at the dashboard, it shows you your current hard locks, it shows you your current soft locks, and it shows you unsuccessful login attempts over the last 30 days. So this can show you how insecure your network is, and you may be surprised to see how many unsuccessful login attempts there are. Over here then are the agents. So it's very important to understand when you install this particular type of software, CyberArms, is once you install the software, that does not mean you are protected. You then actually have to configure these individual agents. So there's one for FileMaker, there's one for FTP security, there's one for SMTP security, SQL Server security, TLS or SSL security. This is what you use for Remote Desktop Protocol, routing and remote access security, and Windows-based security agents. So these are all the different security agents here. Now what you do is, all you do in order to configure these is you can go over here to agents, and this is where you actually turn these things on. So you can do the lockout configuration, so soft lock threshold, unsuccessful logins, 3, soft lock duration, 20 minutes, hard lock threshold, unsuccessful logins 10, hard lock duration in hours, 24 hours, or you could do a hard lock forever. So basically, it's just, when you talk about soft lock versus hard lock, just think about it as just different levels. A soft lock is probably going to be used against people that are just fat fingering it. They try to put in the username and password 5 times, and so you only want to lock them out 20 minutes. Whereas if somebody tries to log in, 10 or 20 or 50 times unsuccessfully, then you may want to be able to block them forever. So they have the option for FileMaker security, and then what you would do is you would click this enable the security agent to actually enable it. Then they do FTP security, so this is something that I actually configured, FTP port, SMTP security if you want to configure it, SQL security, TLS security, routing and remote access, so this is your VPN security, and Windows base agent. So these are the different security types that you can implement. Now again, remember, you don't want to implement any security that you don't actually have on your server. So if you're not doing things like FTP or SQL Server on your server, there's no reason to configure that. Beyond that, we can go over to the settings here, and we have like the default lockout configurations. We talk about the safe networks, configure whitelist networks if you wanted to do that. This is licensing if you're actually paid for the thing. Notification settings, so you can actually be notified, basic notification on soft lock events, on hard lock events, on unlock events. So if you want to be notified when somebody gets automatically locked out, you can do that here. And then the SMTP configuration, so if you actually want to be emailed, you would plug all that information in. So if somebody tried to use your VPN service, 50 times and got logged out, you can get an email event on that so that you can then figure out what is going on. Beyond that, we can go here and we can take a look at the security logs. So this shows us the issues that are going on, and these are all my little tests. So I was using this computer, 192.168.1.12. This client was unlocked. TLS SSL security agent, possible intrusion attempt. This client was soft locked. And this gives you all of those security logs so that you can see what's going on. And then here we can go and we can see what the current locks are. So to show you basically how this works, and it's really simple. So right here, we're taking a look at the current locks. And what I want to do is I want to go over and go to my Windows computer that I have to do this little demonstration. So if you go back, if you look right now, there are currently no locks whatsoever. So let's go over to my piece of crap Windows 8 computer and try to use a remote desktop connection to get into the server. So 192.168.1.2, I'm going to try to hack into the server. So right now it's using remote desktop. I'm going to try to log in. I'm going to do Bob, and then I'm going to do a password or Bob, and then I'm going to try to get in. So it's going to do OK, and then it's trying to log in. No, that didn't work. Okay, so I'll do 1, 2, 3 and try to lock in. Now it's trying to initiate the remote connection, and it is failing now. And because I actually tried this a couple times before, if we go over, we can now see that this has been soft locked. So before, there was no lock here, and basically what this has done is this has completely blocked the IP address. So if we go over now to my Windows 8 computer, you can see remote desktop cannot connect to the remote computer for one of these reasons. So this isn't simply a password failure. Basically what this means is that the firewall rules on the server have been reconfigured to block this IP address from being able to connect to the server. So that is how this stuff works, and that's why it's so cool. So again, all of this stuff is just completely automatic. You know, if bots are trying to attack your system, if wannabe hackers are trying to attack your system, any of that, this will just automatically lock them out. Now, if it is somebody just being stupid, all you have to do is you just do a checkbox by the particular computer, and then you do unlock IP address, and it manually unlocks. That's all you have to do. We can come here, we can see unsuccessful login attempts is now up to 19. We can go over to the security log, we can see that that's been updated. And that's really all there is to it. This is one of those tools that is just incredibly invaluable. Again, especially in small environments, right? Because this is one of the things that you have to think about. If you have a really large environment, if you have an environment where you have 10, 20, 100 servers, you are probably going to have a multi-layer network with multiple different firewalls with very specific configurations for how all of these servers communicate with each other. And so therefore, you would not buy something like this. I would not imagine that you would go out and you would buy 50 copies of this, because you would architect that network in such a way that it would be secure. But the thing is, for a lot of you guys are dealing with small networks. You're dealing with one server, you're dealing with 2 servers. Those servers most likely have to communicate with every other computer, device, everything else on that network, which means there is an extreme amount of vulnerability. So putting a piece of software on your system like this, where you can automatically shut down the communication from those client computers as soon as there's a lockout event, is just an invaluable thing. Again, with this, they have a free version of it, 5 lockouts per day, which is probably, honestly, let's be honest with you, that's probably fine for most of you. Or if you're really worried about it, again, $199. That's just really cheap. So that is dynamically blocking nefarious or whatever IP addresses on your Windows Server 2012 server. And I would look at it. If I was a client, again, this would be on every small business server, because it's just a really, 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 really good tool. Is managing users and computers on Active Directory too cumbersome? Download SolarWinds' terrific trio of free Active Directory admin tools today and start saving time on those Active Directory management tasks. These free tools help you manage and remove computers and users from Active Directory and allow you to add users in bulk. The free tools include Inactive User Account Removal Tool, enables you to scan Active Directory and optionally remove users who have not logged in for a certain amount of time. Inactive Computer Account Removal Tool enables you to scan Active Directory and optionally remove computers that are over a certain number of days old. And import tool saves time by giving you the ability to create users in bulk using a CSV file. You can even specify the attributes. Also be sure to check out SolarWinds community page, thwack.com, to connect with more than 100,000 IT professionals. So take a look at solarwinds.com for their free and other tools. SchooleyMitchell.com. If you're trying to find better internet or telephone service, or if you're trying to find less expensive internet or telephone service, give Schooley Mitchell a call. Basically what these guys are telecom consultants. You call them, you say what you need for yourself or your client, and they figure out the best option. They'll examine your existing services and review your bills to make sure there are no errors. Then they'll keep an eye on your services moving forward so that everything remains optimized. Because Schooley Mitchell is objective and independent, they have no ties to vendors. You know they are always your best interests in mind. The best part is there is no fee for their services. The only cost is a portion of the shared savings over a set period of time. If they don't find savings, there is no cost to you. Schooley Mitchell. Spiceworks.com. These guys have the free network management software, the free mobile device management software, the free community with millions of users. So if you're an IT professional and you need support, Spiceworks is a great place to go. All of their stuff is basically free and just an absolutely great thing. Again, if you have any questions that I don't answer in the show that are technical in nature, we're talking about Active Directory synchronization between sites in remote areas. If you click on the link below this video, that will take you to the Spiceworks community. They have millions of users there that will be able to help you out. So take a look at spiceworks.com. Total Seminars, totalsim.com. If you're looking for your A+, your Net+, your Security Plus certification, they have video training, practice test, exam vouchers, and more. If you are on the CompTIA track and you are looking for study prep material, study guides, that type of thing, take a look at Total Seminars, totalsim.com, TOTALSEM.com. Veeam.com, VEEAM.com. If you just virtualized 100 servers and now you're trying to figure out how to back them up, they have solutions for ESXi, they have solutions for Hyper-V, and as you guys like, they have free stuff. So if you are dealing with a virtualized environment and you're trying to figure out a backup solution, take a look at Veeam.com. NerdsWeCanFixThat.com. If you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, but you don't want to have to worry about coming up with a logo and copyright and trademark and all of those kinds of things, you may think about buying into a computer services franchise system. Nerds We Can Fix That is a computer services franchise system. They have 62 franchises throughout the United States. They can franchise in every state other than Hawaii. They also franchise internationally. If you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, you should contact them, fill out the information below, or give them a call. Again, as I will say, franchise systems are great for a lot of people, not so good for others. Always make sure to do your due diligence, but if you're thinking about starting a computer services company anyway, you might as well contact Nerds We Can Fix That to see what they have to say. Altaro.com, ALTARO.com. If you're dealing with virtualization in a Hyper-V environment, so we're talking about Windows Server 2008 R2, 2012, and 2012 R2, take a look at Altaro.com. They have a number of Hyper-V backup solutions. They have the free version, which will back up to 2 VMs for free forever. They also have the unlimited version, starting at only $400 per host. I think this is a very good value. So if you are dealing with Hyper-V virtualization and you need a backup solution, take a look at Altaro.com. AddAccess.com. If you're dealing with Active Directory on a large scale, so you have hundreds of users to add, hundreds of users to disable, so on and so forth, you may want to take a look at AddAccess.com. This is Active Directory management and automation software. So this tries to automate and simplify the Active Directory workflow. So if you are in a large scale Active Directory infrastructure, take a look at AddAccess.com. Plixer.com. Plixer deals with NetFlow analytics software. So NetFlow is a component of Cisco equipment that shows you what's going on at the network layer, what devices are talking to what other devices, what kind of network jitter, all of that kind of stuff. So Plixer has a free piece of software called Scrutinizer. Scrutinizer is a free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. So if you want to play around with NetFlow, if you want to see what's going on with the network layer and you have Cisco equipment, take a look at Plixer.com. Click on the link below this video. It'll bring you to this page where you can download Scrutinizer, the free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. So the hands-on review for today is the HTC Desire 610. And I have to say, up until today, I hadn't really played around with HTCs very much. You know, I'm one of those guys, I go with Apple, I go with Samsung, you know, there are these other brands out there, but I don't really play with them. So I was really happy. AT&T actually sent me this thing to play with, and I was surprised to find that it is a very, very good phone. So when I first looked at it and saw the price point, it's $199 off contract or free with a contract. It was like, oh, look at that. That's going to be HTC's low-end smartphone, and it's probably going to be pretty crappy. And so I was pleasantly surprised to find out it's actually a really nice, good phone. So I personally, just so you guys know, I use a Galaxy S4 every day, and I find that to be very good. I've been using that for about a year, and I found the HTC to be much faster and much more responsive than my Galaxy S4. So whenever I was sitting here and I was playing with it, as I'll show you in a second, it just does everything you tell it to do exactly when you tell it to do, which is a really good thing, especially when you're coming to stuff like an Android phone. So let's go over to my little table so I can kind of show this off to you guys and show you why I think it's pretty good. So again, this is the AT&T, it's the HTC Desire 610, and this is what you get when you get the phone. So when you get the phone, it's about a normal size smartphone. This is not one of those huge phablet phones. It's just a normal sized smartphone that you get now. Now, one of the things that I did notice that I found a little odd, because I didn't think I would find it odd, to be honest with you, is I will say that the screen seems small. So when you look at this form factor and you look at how big the phone is, you expect the screen to take up much more than the screen actually takes up. So that's just kind of like one of those weird visual things. And you'll notice the bezel on the side. You know, all of these companies keep talking about making the bezel smaller and smaller and smaller. And to be honest with you, I never really thought about the bezel until I saw the HTC Desire and went, wow, that's a big bezel. But if you can get past the fact that it seems like a relatively small screen, again, like I say, it actually performs really, really well. So if we go here, I can just go up, and that gets us into the to the home screen. And as you can see, as we go through here, like I say, it is just really, really responsive. Every time I press a button, it is literally doing exactly what I tell it to do, exactly when I tell it to do it. There's no lag. Like my Galaxy S4, there's a whole crap ton of lag. And this is one of the first phones I've really played with where, like I say, there's just not that lag. It's just as soon as you press a button, it's doing exactly what you want it to do, which is a really good thing. Of course, it's got the normal camera and all that kind of stuff on it. If you care about that, you can look at, you know, somebody else's review. That's not the kind of thing I play with. And again, I'm not quite sure. I think it has like a 1.2 gigahertz processor, but it's not the speed of the processor that I'm impressed with. You know, fundamentally, like so many of these processors, they talk about how fast it is. It is a 2 point whatever gigahertz processor, but then when you're using it, it's slow as hell. What I want to show you here is, like I say, this, whatever the speed, the technical speed of the processor, the actual performance of it is really, really fast. The other thing I was kind of surprised about, again, I've been a little snarky about AT&T's speed in the past because I used to have AT&T. But what I'll say is this has their 4G LTE, and you can see this is not connected to my wireless, and you can see how fast this actually performs. So that's a really, really good thing too. So basically, the performance of the HTC Desire 610 with AT&T's LTE is really nice. Again, it is. I use Verizon. And I use a Samsung S4, but this is pretty good. The other thing that HTC is now famous for, that this thing has, is the dual front speakers, which is nice if you're going to be watching videos and such, or listening to music without the headphones. So this is one of those, I don't know if they have this patented. I don't understand why no other company does this. But so since they have the speakers on either side, when you sit it here and you play a video or you listen to music, it sounds much better. Again, I have Apple devices. Apple devices speakers actually are pretty bad, to be honest with you. The Galaxy S4 speakers are really bad. But again, this is one of those, the nice things with the HTC is that the speaker on it is really good. So you can actually play this and you're not going to feel, you know, like a nerd doing it. The only thing that I will say that I don't understand with these HTCs, so they've got the two front speakers, right? So this is perfectly built so that it can sit on a desk or something and you can listen to music, except for the fact that they don't have a kickstand built in. One of the things that I don't understand with HTC is why they're not building in kickstands. You know, that's the whole thing with like Microsoft Surface. They have the built-in kickstand. That's what they're all so proud of. And what I don't understand with HTC is why don't you just build in a little kickstand? Because honestly, if this thing had a kickstand and you could just set it like this, that would be awesome. But the fact that it doesn't have a kickstand and so you have to set it like that, you know, not quite so cool. But otherwise, as far as performance and all that, like I say, I was truly surprised. I thought this would be a low-end HTC phone, but no, it's actually really pretty good. If you go over to AT&T's website, I'll give you the link below. You can come here and take a look at the HTC 610 Desire. Again, the good thing with this too is with the performance, it's very inexpensive. Again, $199 regular price or free off contract compared to a lot of the other smartphones, right? I mean, it depends on what you want to do in life. If you want an Apple device, buy an Apple device. If you want some high-end device, fine. But if you're going to buy this for your mom, if you're going to buy this for your grandma, if you're going to buy this for your dad, if you're going to buy this for somebody who needs an Android phone, doesn't really care about all the bells and whistles, this is I think a good thing. So you can come in, you can, like I say, you can take a look at all the little information. It's got the stuff. Again, I like the HTC. I was pleasantly surprised with the HTC Desire 610. Very good price. Can't beat the price, really, at least for a smartphone. Incredibly good performance. Good sound, whole 9 yards. So I definitely give Desire HTC 610 thumbs up. Again, FCC compliance. AT&T did ship me this as a loaner, but literally 20 minutes after I get done shooting this video, it's going back to FedEx and it's going back to them. So I've got a no compensation or anything for saying this. But yeah, definitely take a look at HTCs. So this question comes from Dino. I'm looking for an SMTP server so I could send out 50,000 not spam messages per day. So what very economical server would you recommend? What very economical server to send out 50,000 not spam messages per day? The question I have to ask is 50,000 per day, and you don't know the answer to this question. Like, there's certain numbers out there, right? You know, if somebody's asking, how do I send out 1,000 messages per day, and you don't know the answer, then it's like, oh, okay, and you answer the question. If they say like 10,000 messages per day, you're like, that sounds a little fishy, but okay, here's the answer. They say 50,000 emails per day. What you have to understand is that is a real number. That's like an enterprise level number. Like, that is something I would sit down with a CEO or CIO and say, why are you sending out 50,000 messages per day? And they go, oh, the reason is because we have an e-commerce company where we do $50 million in business a year, and this is how we do our transactions. And again, those people would be hiring somebody like me who's not really worried, and they're not really worried about being very economical, because at that point they're going to be paying me about $20,000 or $30,000 to come up with that solution. So the question becomes, how exactly are you sending out 50,000 not spam messages a day? That is a crap. I mean, that's a crap ton of messages, right? So normally when we start looking at sending out a lot of SMTP email messages, so SMTP is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. It's basically when we start sending out emails. When we start to send out for any large number, generally what we do is we try to go through a relay server, an SMTP relay server. So I use SendGrid for geekbraindump.com. So basically, I have the WordPress site. On the WordPress site, there's a Mail Poet plugin that allows me to put out email blast that then targets my SendGrid account. And so emails get created in Mail Poet, then actually get sent to the SMTP relay server of SendGrid and then go out from there. But the issue is, and this is where we talk about very economical, right? I pay $10 a month for 40,000 messages per month. You know what I'm saying? So when we start talking about 50,000 messages per day, I mean, I'm looking at SendGrid right now, and for 700,000 messages per day, it's $400, which is about right? So if you do 50,000 times 10 is 150, so that's 450,000. So if you went with the normal SMTP relay provider, you'd be looking at somewhere around $300 a month for that service. So if $300 a month is economical, which I would argue if you're sending out 50,000 emails a day that it is economical, then all you would do is you would go out and you would find some kind of email blast script. There's a lot of them out there. Again, I use MailPoet using WordPress. You can just do a Google search for email blaster scripts, email newsletter scripts, and there'll be a lot of them. Some of them will be free, some of them will cost money. Again, you figure out what you want. Then what you do is you take that script and you put it up to a web server. So you can put it up to GoDaddy or 1&1 or HostGator or whatever else. You configure it up there, and then what you do is you point the configurations for that script to the SMTP relay server. And so when you send out the email blast from the script, it then goes to the SMTP relay server. From the SMTP relay server, it then goes out to all the people that you're trying to reach. Why you do that generally, instead of simply going out from your server itself, is because if you send out from your server, it is more likely that you're going to be flagged as spam. So basically that your IP address is going to be blocked, or Spam House or any of those filters will list you as spam, and then you won't actually get into anybody's email box because you'll be blocked. By using a company like SendGrid, they make sure that the emails going out generally are not spam, and so you don't run into so many issues. But the problem then is again, SendGrid is going to cost you $300 a month. I would say that's economical, but probably you will not. So what you will then have to do is you would then have to set up your own email server. Again, I hate setting up email servers. I hate setting up email servers with a passion, but you can go out there and you can see what is available. You might want to go with like a virtual private server. Basically, whatever solution that you're going to go for, though, you're going to need your own IP address. You're going to need a static IP address from the provider, because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to try to protect that IP address. The issue is when we start talking about Spam House or any of these spam filters, they block based on IP address. So if you go with GoDaddy.com or 1&1.com or one of the other providers, and you use the email function that's built into it, you have to remember every other website that's using that same IP address is using that same the mail function. So if any of them get blocked for spam violations, you're going to get blocked too, right? All Spam House does, all these filters do, is they block the entire IP address. So what you want to do is you need to get your own IP address. So I would say probably look at some kind of virtual private server, $30 a month. Again, 1&1.com, GoDaddy.com has these virtual private servers. Set them up with the cPanel interface, and with that should have the email services already built into the configuration, and then go from there. There's a lot in email. I mean, sending, I can't tell you, sending out 50,000 emails a day though is like that's no joke. So I would highly question why you are doing that. If you're going to be doing that, I would highly recommend using an SMTP relay service. That will be your best bet. If you don't want to use an SMTP relay service, then what you want to do is you want to create your own virtual private or rent a virtual private server or dedicated server that should have the email server functionality already built into it, and then send out from there. And then just make sure that you don't get blocked for spam. Hope that makes sense. Again, I do have to reiterate, sending out 50,000 emails a day really is probably a much bigger thing than you may think. This question comes from Jason M., and it's a long question with a relatively short answer. I recently was on the darknet. Where I posted on a forum. One of the responses was someone who basically handed me my butt on a platter. They posted my email, phone number, country, state, city, zip, address, YouTube channel, Google Plus channel, and photo of my face, which obviously isn't something you want in an undeletable forum post on the darknet. At first, I thought he just Googled my username because it was the same username across the board. Looking back, I can't believe I was dumb enough to do that. I had no idea someone might decide to Google a username. Who does that? Question mark. But then I Googled my own username. I have 2 different Google Plus accounts and YouTube channels, and the the image that he ripped was from my personal one, not the one that shows up in Google, which isn't archived in Google Engines, or at least not on the first couple of pages. So I feel like he didn't even have to use the username exploit. I don't think he Googled my username at all. Was wondering what you thought. I use Tor on both my Mac laptop and PC, so I don't know how he would have been able to do this. It's blowing my mind. I know about phishing and keylogger sniffing, and looking back, I don't see where he was able to utilize any of that. I was wondering if you knew how he did this, or how I might be able to return the favor. Here's the thing. If you have a question like that, don't play in the darknet. You know how Eli, the computer guy, plays in the darknet? He don't. I don't know. It's the darknet is where hackers and those ilk go. So if you don't feel confident in your security skills, I would not go there. What I would say is, I get this a lot from people, and they think it's a really big deal, like addresses and phone numbers and pictures and all that. They're like, haha, look, I can find your address, Eli, the computer guy. And I go, wow, that's so high tech. We were able to do that back in 1982, right? We used to have things called phone books, and it was really easy to find people's information. And what I would say is, most of this stuff is just people becoming paranoid. It's so fun. What I want you guys to understand with some of this stuff is it really is so paranoid anymore. I swear to you, people now think there are like these security holes when people find information that we all used to be able to find in the white pages. We can probably still find in the white pages if anybody ever used the white pages anymore. So your email, your phone number, where your country, state, zip code, address, all of that is relatively easy to find. I mean, that's just no big deal. That's the kind of thing a noob comes up with and thinks, wow, that's cool. The YouTube channel and all the rest of that. I mean, basically, it's just being able to do Google search properly. It's being able to get into some databases. It really is not that big an issue. It really isn't. It's like, okay, they got that information. Whoopee crap. You put that information on the web. Somebody found that information. Who the hell cares? The other thing, the real thing in here that does make me concerned, though, and that's why I would say you should think about whether you really want to use Tor and the darknet and all that, is a question of what about protecting your computer when you get onto the darknet. So again, the darknet is one of those places, right or wrong, I'm not getting into it. You don't know who controls any of these things. You don't know who controls the websites. You don't know who controls the exit nodes. You don't know who controls any of that. And if the NSA has shown us anything over the past year, it is how insecure most of these secure environments are. If you compromise the exit node, if you compromise the services, basically the websites on the darknet, if you can compromise any of those things, you can cause havoc across the board. So a lot of the intelligence agencies, what they have done, right, is they have set up their own services, their websites on Tor, and then on those services they've installed malware and viruses and that kind of thing. So what happens is, you think you're being all super slick and secure going to these different websites in the darknet. You then get a virus. You then you are then exploited somehow. You drop off the Tor network. You're back on the normal internet, and and basically their little exploits start beaconing out and tell the world who you are and where you can be found and all of that kind of information. So really, if I was going to be using the darknet at all, I would be using a disposable computer. Really, truly, because you can't trust any of these people. Again, and if you look at what the NSA is doing, they're doing things like compromising exit nodes. So if the NSA is compromising exit nodes, I would imagine, the organized crime and hackers and the rest of that can compromise exit nodes, so on and so forth. Kind of get what I'm saying? So I would say use a disposable computer if I was going to be using Tor, truly, honestly. Hand a spaghetti monster, I would say use a disposable computer. And then as far as other information, yeah, come up with like a random username when you go onto the darknet. And other than that, that's about all there is. But use a disposable computer. Because again, I mean, I don't know why. Like, everybody has this idea like you used... Again, like, everybody has this idea of like this whole weird utopian world. Like, if we can get away from government, then everything is cotton candy and fairy dust. But the reality is, like I say, going into these darknet, these Tor environments, the other darknets that are out there, You have no idea what servers you're connecting to. Again, when I talk about the exit nodes, remember that whenever we talk about Tor, they talk about security and encryption within the Tor network. So you bounce between three Tor hosts or Tor nodes, and the data there is encrypted. But remember, when you go from the exit node, so when you're exiting the Tor network onto whatever else in the real world, at that point, the data is no longer encrypted. So if somebody puts a man-in-the-middle attack between the exit node and wherever you're going, they can still grab all of your information too, right? If you go to a website and that website has specifically been designed to exploit your web browser or your computer, there can be all kinds of issues. So yes, use a disposable computer. Use better usernames when you are using things like forums. Don't worry about that kind of information. Who the hell cares? That'd be my thoughts. So the final thoughts for today are on YouTuber Sam Pepper and what I have been trying to bang into many of your guys' heads for a long time now. And I don't know, maybe this will be a wake-up call to some people. Probably won't. It probably will not. But, I just want to point this out. So basically, Sam Pepper is a YouTuber with many more subscribers, many more views than I have, and goes out there and does weird, pranky type stuff. And it is now coming out that he's being accused of rape, and he's being accused of molestation, and he's being accused of inappropriate stuff with females. And this seems to be just another good time to reiterate to you guys and to reinforce to you guys that you guys do not know us YouTube content creators. I've talked about this a lot in the past, where a lot of the viewers out there, I think because you sit there and you watch so many hours of the content like I create, that you feel that there is some kind of personal relationship that frankly does not exist. I don't know you, and in reality, you don't know me. And my wife talks a lot about the fact that my personality does change on this show. I don't see us so much, but she really does say, yeah, Eli the computer guy is in fact a good deal different than Eli in the real world. And so this is something that you guys should realize whenever you're going out there and you're going to be dealing with YouTubers. I think dealing with YouTube celebrities or whatever, you get into some weird issues you don't get into with normal celebrities, right? When you're dealing with Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie or Ben Affleck or any of these really big stars, you understand that there's a massive difference, I suppose, between you and them. They are the stars and you are the peon. In the YouTube world, right, this is all of us are creators creating all of this stuff in our own houses many times for very low budgets. And so we can have a lot of popularity and a lot of fame, but people feel more comfortable with us. Like, you don't feel like you're Ben Affleck's friend, right? You may like Ben Affleck, you may love the movies he's been in, but you probably don't feel like you're actually his friend. Whereas with a lot of us content creators, there are these weird relationships that develop where the people that are viewing us feel as if they have a relationship with us, which, is weird. I call it creepy cool. I really do. When I go and talk with real business people, I call it creepy cool. It's a little creepy and cool at the same time when you don't actually meet people. Like if you never meet me in the real world, it's just a little creepy that you think we're friends. But it's not really a big deal. One of the issues that comes up, though, is that as more and more YouTubers become more and more successful, and then they start going out into the real world, the problem then develops is all of these people that feel that they then have a relationship with this YouTuber can get scammed, and other bad things can happen to them very easily, right? Because the YouTube creator, they look at their viewer base and there's just a crap ton of people. There's not that emotional bond. But yet the viewer comes to the content creator and there is an emotional bond. So for me, like I said, I'm a 38-year-old geek. I'm about as non-threatening as can be for YouTube content creators, but you have to think about it. If you're out there and you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old males, fame is going to their head, pretty girls come up to them and go, oh my golly, I watch you all the time. bad things can happen. So what I would tell you guys, honestly, as a YouTube content creator, and I tell you guys this all the time anyway, is be very careful when you deal with YouTube personalities. And if you meet them in the real world, set your expectations low and don't trust them. Don't trust them at all. As I always say, maybe from my old paranoid years, distrust and verify. Whenever you meet a YouTuber, from the get-go, you should distrust them. You should believe that everything that you have seen on the YouTube screen is an absolute and utter lie. Because if you go at it that way, you're probably going to have a lot less issues at the end of the day, right? Because if you go to somebody and you completely open up to them and you're willing to do whatever, it just sets a really bad dynamic. So as a YouTube content creator to the viewing audience, I will tell you, do not trust anybody on YouTube when you meet them. Do not trust them after you meet them. Do not believe the people that what they show themselves to be on the screen is actually who they are. And just be very careful. Because again, I am a geek, right? I am a geek. And I still get very weird interactions with people. So when you think about these people that are like, again, more normal, I suppose you could say, there's just all kinds of badness there. So when you're dealing with YouTube personalities, distrust and verify, and just, I don't know. Again, as I say, we're not friends. I'm a content creator. You're a viewer. I truly believe if you guys, if more people really grasp that concept, I think there would be a lot less pain in the world.